was thinking last night that Manafort's had so many real estate transactions going back and forth, and almost every one I know has emails involved because we do a lot of real estate. We sell some and then we give the contract to the people to sign and they take it to their lawyers. Um, but as you look at these transactions, and I haven't seen anything like it, but there's more and more emails. Emails going back and forth, emails going back and forth. And it's all real fast and they go cross country, whatever. So those real estate transactions that he did, and there are a lot of them, I could see why they didn't want to testify because it's hard to testify against the paperwork the way it is, and then there are emails going back and forth. So I don't know. I would think it'd be hard to get out of it. You have bankers, closing departments, title insurance, and then you have the people sending the money out into the lawyers that are closing the transaction, which would be the bankers. And then he had different things, but if you read the write-ups on him lately, there was one in the paper yesterday, she took a picture, a lot of the transactions involve emails back and forth that he was involved in. I know this Gates was involved in some things, but they would close these loans, send Manafort an email, and then he would send an email back, and it's hard to change those. If you start changing those emails, you have to go to who, Bruno? No, you have to go to
Google.
Google. A couple of companies. If people start changing them, it's you can track it. You can find out the way it was originally. But anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. So I think following up on these transactions, I could see why they didn't want to testify. I mean, I know the second trial is another reason, but the emails going back and forth.
Yeah.
And we've been involved in them now all of a sudden with real estate closings and things like that. If we sell something, bingo, take the contract to a lawyer, and he's emailing, we're emailing, and then the people, VA, whoever's putting out the money, they're sending emails to everybody, and
they would have to go to the domain.
How do you get around them if there are a lot of them?
To track it.
And they're saying Manafort's lying and this, different things, but with those transactions, with those emails, and a lot of people in New York, some big people have gone to jail over these emails a few years ago, big people. So based on that, with the number of transactions that he dealt with banks, and just like the end gave him $16 million, Kalk, and he wanted a job as head of the army, and I assume that there was paperwork going back and forth, including emails with his bank, because he was the head of that bank in Chicago, and that's where the money came from. But the documents, I would say, these documents and these transactions, the prosecutors say that they're enough to find Manafort guilty of tax evasion and bank fraud. Just those transactions, the way they sit with the finished documents and the emails back and forth, and they're saying that he only paid tax on part of his income, and if you go through the transactions, you'll find that out. Like in 2012, he had 5.3 million in income that he turned in for taxes, but there was also 9.2 million that he bought luxury items on and all kind of things that you saw pictures of, whatever. I don't think he turned in any of that money. And they're saying that this contact of his was enough for tax fraud and bank fraud. I mean, he bought those ostrich jackets for $16,000 and all that. And I think it's going to come down to these emails, and I don't think you can get around them. I don't care what Gates says. I know Gates did some work for him, and he was traveling around, and Gates had a girlfriend, which, that's not going to be anything when you talk about, is Manafort guilty of these different things beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think that I don't know. I haven't checked it close. If I could look at all those files that he got money from banks, like I said, that one property he said he didn't rent, and he did not rent, and they found out he did rent it because he was saying that was a second home, and he used that to get another mortgage on a piece downtown. All those things are going to be in those files, and there are going to be a lot of emails going back and forth. I think the paperwork in this case is thousands of pages that the jury has to go over. And the other thing is the emails will also show that he had some real sloppy bookkeeping. And he will didn't manage his affairs too well. And also this guy that worked for him, Gates, he's running his mouth. He turned himself in. He pled guilty to 2 different crimes, 2 charges, and he's talking as hard as he can. But and he's giving him a lot of information, especially on those foreign bank accounts, because the information that Gates gave them that's going to help them is what accounts did Manafort actually borrow money, or what accounts was that his own money, and he should have been paying tax on. You don't have to pay tax on borrowing. If it's your own money, though, that you made working, that money you have to pay tax on. And that's going to be what Gates is going to help the prosecutor's case on now before he already has, before the jury. But I don't know if Gates will be called anymore. He might be called by Manafort. No, he can't be, because that's right, Manafort closed his case. So the case is over for the testimony. Now the jury they're going to have files on all these cases, thousands of pages, loans, and all the other stuff. And they can probably look at some of the testimony too that, like Gates talked about. If they're not sure what he said, they could probably ask the judge to bring up those few items that Gates talked about, because they're going to need that to deliberate. And as you know, it's a jury that has to come to a conclusion for all of them. And if they find him guilty of bank fraud and tax fraud, he's going to get a long sentence. I don't know how many years, but it's going to be long. And the next question is, then when they go to the second case, if he's already sentenced in this case, say he got 20 years, he's 69 years old, what would 20 years do in the next case? He'd have to live to 109. So, I don't know, something might happen on that second case. Maybe they'll drop it, hold it, don't prosecute. And Manafort, I think, should be trying to work out some kind of deal. I don't know what the deal could be, but if he has other people involved that gave him money, like I said before, to put in these foreign bank accounts, give them their names, because they're pushing their money to foreign bank accounts so they could get it out of the country and they won't have to pay tax. I don't care if they live in U.S., Russia, whatever. And if he has those names, he has to give them those names now. That's the only way they're going to work a deal for him. Thank you.